Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about a very important topic, that is procedurally generated textures, or a tool known as Substance Designer. So let's dive deep into it. So why exactly do we need something like this? Well, reality is whenever you say 3D, like be it in movies, be it in mesh in games and all that, it does not mean anything. All it means is a geometry. Geometry looks like this. Now, be mindful, even this is rendered. It's not real. Like all you have whenever you say 3D is like you have vertex, a collection of vertex. So what does a vertex has? Vertex has three X, Y, Z coordinate data. So you have one vertex. That's useless. So now you add another vertex. All you will know is XYZ plus XYZ of 2 points. Basically, you know the length, but still one-dimensional data. Just all you know is length. Then you add a third data, basically third point. Now you create a skin. Basically, you have a triangle. That is a minimum small size. Triangles are the foundational building block of all CG. So you start with triangle. Then you have like, okay, 3 points you have there. Now you have a plane. Plane has two options, up and down. Basically, plane is facing this way or this way. So that's how we create the front skin and the back side. And then you create a whole geometry. So this is just geometry. This is useless in games. This is useless. Like it's only useful geometry specifically is in CAD modeling, where you're gonna actually make it out of like real world stuff like aluminum, 3D printing and all that. Their geometry makes sense. Anywhere other than that, where specifically VFX and video games, it means nothing. You have to take this puppy 3D and then you have to add textures to it. Only taking this, adding texture to it, then you have something. So textures makes it look like something, whatever have you, what color it is, how shiny it is, how new it is, how old it is. All of that comes, all of that cues, optical cues comes from the texture side of things. And textures have to work together. There is not just one texture that tells you the color. There is like shadow, basically you have ambient occlusion, you have normal maps that gives you the surface roughness, then you have specular, a lot of things has to go there, and that gives the feel. How does the object feels? Because be mindful, in game or even in VFX, you are moving around. Think cameras are moving. A camera is not static. You cannot just paint something. It has to be dynamics. That's why we have to require multiple textures working together to create something. Then only you can give the feeling. So you start with this is a 3D mesh to get to this point, or like you scan someone's face and then going to like okay, photorealistic face, that requires texturing stage. Like seriously large amount of texturing space. And how the heck it's done? Well, you have a mesh gets a lot of texture works with what? Texture works with the camera, and it works with the shaders. Shader tells you like how the heck each layers of texture is going to behave with each other. One will tell you okay, what is the brightness here, one will tell you how reflection. So that will go with the shader will compute what is the camera angle, is it obtuse or opaque and all that. Like all that calculation has to be done, and then lighting engine will play the role. Whatever lighting engine you have in your game engine or in your VFX, all of that has to work together. Then you get a GG result. Without it, all you will have is this. So texturing is a very important part. Basically anything that you can see looks like something, it is textured, and somebody has spent time to texture it. So that's the need part of it. What exactly is the problem? The problem is this puppy consumes time. If you're like, what the hell is this? Well, this is how your every in-game character is literally done. So we take the geometry, we have to open it up, and then we paint on top of it. It takes time. Like what kind of time? Well, even for small games like that is AAA scale, you're looking at hundreds of people. Even for VFX, you could literally have a movie that has only 1 or 2 VFX heavy shot, and outcome would be hundreds of people working there. Like I'm not even joking. There are some movies that have only few minutes of scenes, a few minutes of VFX. It could have taken them like a rendering farm around 6 months. Like a whole studio would have been working their ass off just to make that scene. So it's a very brutal environment, and it consumes a lot of time. Like time wise, like everything else, like we are really good with optimizing and all that, but this stage is just time sink. So we will design, okay, we're gonna give you 3 days for making high poly, 4 days of like, so what's the pipeline? So pipeline in game specifically is object. You make whatever object, okay, I'm gonna make this pew pew. So you make a high poly. High poly will be helping you finalize the design, helping you the concept, everything. Then you make a low poly that actually goes into your game engine. Then you unwrap it, this monstrosity. So you actually have to open it up so you can actually paint on top of it. Vertex have no actual data, so unwrap is another vertex data mapped to a 2D plane where you paint on top of it. So if you paint here, it goes to the ear. How the heck that happens? That happens through unwrap translation layer. So unwrap becomes a stage where we have to take the mesh, open it up into a 2 dimension, then you transfer that to basically Photoshop, and you paint on top of it, or whatever software you want to do. So unwrap, then we bake. Basically baking allows you to extract detail from high poly to low poly. So you can extract basically how lightings are playing with each other. AO map you can extract high poly, normal maps, all that jazz. Then we go to texturing, and this is where time disappears. Like so far, basically, okay, I make a high poly, I make a low poly, I do unwrap, and I do baking. It will take time, but it will be like, okay, manageable. Like most of the managers can adequately, reliably give you time, and it won't be too much, it won't be too little. You'll be like, good. The moment you touch texturing, okay, finally, I'm ready, I'm texturing, yeah, gone. Time gone. Poof. Even the best texture artist will take time. Like time is just one of those things that there is no alternate around it. For example, one of my art lead told a very interesting point of like, if you have one woman, it is still gonna take her 9 months to give birth to a baby. Okay, that makes sense. Here's the deal. If you have 9 women, it will still take 9 months. That's how time consuming texturing is. So you speeding that puppy up is not viable, so to say. And when you are talking about environments that you see in VFX and games background and all that, I was an environment artist. We make the mesh and then we directly go texturing. It's painful. So you can see that like this is the geometry stage, and we have baked the normal data here. So what normal data is doing is tricking with the shader. Shader has to be there. Shader is tricking it. So creating a shadow illusion. This is just a plane, but it gives the shadow illusion where it's like, it looks like there is a cone there, but it's not there. So this is one of those. So basically look at an eyeball. Eyeball is just a sphere. It's like Control C, Control V, done, go home. But here, the moment you have to texture that, yeah, that puppy is going to take time. Like we used to think sculpting is the most time consuming part. Like imagine how long it would have taken to sculpt Godzilla. Texturing. So that's the problem. Like this puppy consumes time, like a lot of it. So what's the solution? Solution is procedural. What does that mean? That simply means normal method, whenever the normal way of doing things, non-procedural way of doing it, it gives you a texture set. That's it, done. Like this is the prop or this is the environment. I made the texture for it, the end, it's gone, done. Like once you deploy it in a game, it has no other use. You just have a file. But if you make it procedurally, now you have an asset. Meaning, for example, if you made this structure, this stuff, you can see how many patterns you can create out of it. Like this same thing, you can literally take it from, let's say, a World of Warcraft to literally Lord of the Rings, and you can tweak it so it does not look Control C, Control V, but you still have that thing. Everything will be there, everything will work. You will, heck, you can take the same thing and put it in a different part of the map, part of that map that is dry. So you can remove all the grass and all that, and you can replace that with sand. So consequence would be you have an asset. So if you are a game studio and if you have any brain cells, you will develop everything in procedurally. Benefit of that is like next game that you're gonna make, you have lot of asset pre-done, and every asset that you are building from new, that's also adding to your library. So your library keeps growing. So you will literally reach a point where by the 4th or 5th game, you'll be like, we just have everything. Maybe you'll need to add 1 or 2 extra. So that will save a lot of time. So how the heck that can be done? Well, somebody figured out, somebody with a lot of brain, like a lot of smart brain, figured out that everything you see, like even this image, or take a photo from whatever camera that you have, zoom into it like a lot, zoom into it a lot, you will only see 2 things, noise and patterns. Entire world is just made out of 2 things, noise and pattern. So if you can mix them properly and you can tamper with them non-destructively, equals a master file. Meaning back in the days, this is the early game development where you has to have a mesh. Then we used to plant trees, like literally plant 1 tree, 2 tree. Okay, now we're gonna rotate it because we cannot have infinite mesh count. So 1 tree was replicated hundreds of times. So to make sure it does not look obvious, tree had to be rotated, scaled, and all that jazz. We had to do that. So now it's a button in Unreal. So, and speed tree, it's a tool that is used by a VFX industry. Now it's slowly creeping into gaming because it was very heavy. So like you can see that this was not possible. This is computer doing it. We are not doing it. So back in the old days, we literally, some modeler has to go there, cut lines, add geometry, all that jazz. Now it's like, I think I want some stump there. It's like, boom, done. This is exactly how every Hollywood movie has trees. Bollywood movies have trees. Every movie that you see have VFX trees. Generally, 99.99% of the time, unless it's like a hero asset, it's gonna come from speed tree. And it's non-destructive, meaning once they develop it, they were like, hey, we developed palm trees for, let's say, this movie. They may just Control C, Control V it for another movie that also requires palm tree. So That's the benefit of procedural. Once you do it, it saves you a lot of time in further, and more varieties also available and quicker also. So that's the benefit of procedural. So now we come to substance. Now substance, back in the old days, like when I used to work with this puppy, as in like 6-7 years ago, it was a new company that was algorithmic, and then it's got bought by Adobe. Adobe have bought it right now. So like people always joke about like Adobe buys anything that is successful. The only thing Adobe missed out is on 3D. So this is the only tool set that is 3D tool set that Adobe actually managed to grab before it became too big. So Substance is sold to basically Adobe right now. Be mindful, it's still in use. Like right now it's industry standard. Like I have linked their show notes. You can watch it, like how many movies has used it. The list is all. So procedurally generated pattern and noise. So I had the luxury of watching like the people who made this software. They were like, dude, we are working for movie industry to create a noise generator. Noise generator will give like more VFX, bit more oomph, bit more life to it. So they're like, that was not going well. So they're like, what if we made a software out of it? They made it. So pattern and noise with node-based structure. So you see there is a node. So pattern is lines, stripes. So stripe is the pattern. So what if you want to do something? You want to transform it. Okay, you want to rotate it. You want to change the hue saturation levels basically. Black and white levels of it, you change the levels of it, you blend it with something. It's just node-based structure with good UI. Now, if you remember my previous video when I talked about tragedy of open source, this is not complex. Like in terms of software, like what exactly is happening, that's why I said this procedural thing is smart. It's not like, whoa, how the heck somebody can figure it out? Like it requires Steve Jobs. No. This is clever. Somebody figured out like all there is to our world, all there is to any video game asset or any VFX is just goddamn noise and pattern. So what they did is just like, hey, give you a node base with good UI. Now, this may look complicated. Trust me, it's not. And you can spend 2 to 3 days, you'll start to get a hang of it. If you had to actually work for it, 1 month, you'll be like, bro, I got this. So it's a very good UI, like for what it does. So really good. And you built everything from scratch. For example, this mesh, it's in my portfolio. If you go to ArtStation and type Anupam Vipul, you will see that. So this is a pillar that I made for one of my portfolio work. And it's like, okay, so how the heck I made it? Well, there is no mesh here. I bypassed that stage. So if you see Wonder Woman and you see Athena pillars behind that, so you can see something like this. And again, they most likely they would have built it, but not necessary. Especially if it's a small piece in the background, generally they do not build high resolution of it. So build everything from start. I start with pattern. I start with scaling that pattern. Like the color, the feel of it is not coming just from outside. There is no, okay, I took a photograph, flattened it and then put it here. That's how the old system used to work. I made it. So everything, every crack, nook, feature, feeling is literally coming through this. So this is base color, this is height map, this is roughness, and all that is combining into output, and then output is giving you this geometry. I recommend on it. How the heck texture can give geometry? Well, there is a map known as height map, which physically moves vertex based on the pixel value. So basically take your pixel value 0 to 100 value wise. Imagine you have a vertex that can adjust to it. And now imagine you are projecting a height map to it. So if you do that on a cylinder, voila, a pillar. So we can do that, everything from start. You can do that. And manipulation non-destructively, meaning, let's say I made this puppy. I gave it to my art director worked with a cinematographer, and they like put it in a scene or render it out, and they're like, you know what, it's all good, but I think we need a bit more warmth, you know. The colors are not popping. How about let's go with a yellow, bit more yellow tint. I'll come here, go to this node, change the color to yellow, done, go home, sweet dreams. You don't have to do anything other than that. That's the whole point, it's non-destructive. So it's a very clever thing. All you have to do is tile it, blend it, mask it, rotate it, blur it, done. Maybe 1 or 2 extra mesh like some transform, some warp transform and all that, but nothing other than that. It's just clever. Can you do all this in Photoshop? Yes, but you're gonna lose your hair. And I have linked one of my time lapse. It was like I think 9 years ago. Good luck with that if you want to dare to watch it. So you can see that like people can do something similar. And be mindful, these are just noise, and all of the noise you can find that in Photoshop. Heck, even tiling is an option in Photoshop. You can tile it also. So what this company did is like they did very clever thing. They were not like, whoa, we're gonna revolutionize. Like, bro, we have the tools. Let's just use it. So you can convert the output into a mesh going through height maps. And trust me, if you want to be shocked like how much can be created out of this, go into ArtStation and look into some substance designer products. Trust me, I left gaming industry looking into that. It's like, whoa, the things that people can create out that is procedurally generated is like, whoa. The only thing I really was good at, like, created a rope, but I never saved the file. Goddammit, I never saved the file. Like, it was a very interesting rope design. So I could have like steel rope, Kevlar rope, nylon rope, all of them from one stuff. So that's the substance, that's the beauty. At this point in time, you want to get into VFX, you want to get into gaming, you want to go anything where it has to do with something texture related, thou shall know substance designer. Have to know it. Is there any alternate? Blender has some level of it, but good luck with that. But this is industry standard, like the end. You have to know how to do this. So that's the substance, puppy. So what we can expect in the future? Well, here's the AI-based assisted systems are already here. For example, in the same vein, like you have Substance Designer and Substance Painter. Painter is just takes the lot of designer file and allows you to paint on a 3D complex mesh. That's more for environment if you directly want to do something simple, cylinder, plain walls. That's awesome in designer. But if you want to texture a human, then you have like a lot of textures. Yeah, that becomes a bit more painter oriented. Painter is just like Photoshop for 3D. Now somebody created Alchemist. Alchemist is literally black magic, where you can take a photograph and AI will make it for you. You take a photo, like how back in the days we used to, like my teacher who used to taught me, they worked in very early versions of Forza. So they literally went into the racetracks, yes, Nürburgring racetrack, and they had a van, and the van had a ladder. That ladder extruded out and they were like this. That's how they were capturing photos. Then that's how they got the flag. Because be mindful, like nowadays you can just correct most of the issues. Back in the days you had to capture good file, correction was not there, so you had to capture very good, then only you can use it. So that, now imagine you take that and it magically makes it into a fully tileable stuff. Just take it and go. It just makes it. How? AI. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done today. That's why I said Alchemist. Now, is it really perfect right now? Hell no. But it's so close that it's scary. Meaning things that took me months to learn in an institute, AI is like, I got this. So it's very, so how far are we before it can actually replace a person? 5 years. I'm being optimistic. So really is like, if you really want to get into this field, you must learn procedural system. And this is an example of like procedural system in Unreal, where you can see the islands. So like for example, a game Raft I have played, it has islands, but islands are custom designed. You can see that, like it's like, okay, some artist designed it, so that's why it repeats. The island repeats. They of course try to make it rotated, try to put different flowers, basically different window dressing, but reality is they only have few islands. Nowadays game engine can do is just render the physical thing out there. Like it can procedurally generate it. So no one will ever look the same. It can be done. So it's really bonkersly amazing things that can be done. So if you do not understand this sort of system today and you're like, okay, this looks very low grade, and it looks low grade to us because this is a demonstration. What a professional can do with like a good programmer, 5 or 6 months of time would be like, oh damn. So be mindful, one must learn it texturing wise. Heck, I have seen subsystems that are literally reaching modeling into procedural system. So be very mindful. You have to understand this. Like this, not optional. It's not no, have to. So procedural system must be there. And in-game procedural systems are also coming. Right now, games, we just extract the file. Like we extract the normal file, we extract the specular, we extract metallic, we extract base color, all that. We extract it and then dump it into game engine. In the future, game engine will directly have that node file, the mathematical node file itself. Can it be done? Heck, you can do it today only if you want to. It's just not efficient enough where most computer can run it. Like high-end, GG master race computers can easily run it. It's just that most of the games are designed for the lowest denominator. Those puppy are not powerful enough. So, but I can easily see it in the next 3 to 4 years that this sort of system would be in-game. Would it make a difference? Absolutely, it will make a difference. For example, if you have noticed that game environment has no effect on textures, like your road looks like exactly the same road in the night, in the winter, in the summer, if it has weather cycle, in the rain, it looks exactly the same because they cannot change it that much. But if procedurally is generated, you could literally have a story beats affecting the environment. For example, some election happened and that election did something which allowed a road to be cleaned. So you could literally have less moss growing into the roads. And then you have different story beats where it's like, you know what, things are not being maintained. Now you'll have much more broken road, much more moss growing, much more history there. All of that can be done today. It's not very efficient to do it right now in current gen console, so to say. Now, all this, like this is what I used to do. So make stuff like this, then make textures for it and go YOLO on it. So you have to understand this core aspect. Money cannot buy time. Game studios, movie studios, the only thing they are crunching on is time. They're like, we need time. So what can we do? Well, you can buy speed, and that's the whole point. Like, that software is expensive. You buy Adobe Suite, you're not going to get Substance package. You have to pay, I think, $20 extra per month to get Substance Suite, and people pay for it because, again, even though the making the master file will take time, it's an asset. Once you have it, tuck, 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 you can keep going. So it's one of those things that you have to understand. Money cannot buy time, but it can buy speed. So your job directly depends on the fact that how fast you are. So your job has to be me equal speed. Like if some artist came to, director came in, like, you know what, we want this old marble kind of look. You feel me, bro? Like, we want this marble-ish look that's like old school and all that. You're like, I got this. Take it, sir. And then like they render it with other scenes and they're like, you know what, it's good, but we're not feeling it, man. Can you do some variation? It's like, hey, I got you, man. Change something. Done. If you can't be that fast, bye-bye your job. So be very mindful. You have to become speed. Me equal speed. That's the future. If you are not this, yeah, bye-bye. So this was my presentation on procedurally generated textures. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.